Okay, you're rolling. On to the vegetable patch.
So we have three gardens that are fenced in. We fence in just because we have the chickens and the ducks going around and we want to keep them out. A lot of people won't do this, but um, I think it also deters deer, which we don't have a huge problem with, but it's enough just to keep them out. Um, there's other things for them to munch on. We have, our rows are going different ways. It's very open, so we basically have full sun. The shade does come over because there's a tree line here. In the evening, this garden will start to get shade before this one, and then we have a far garden on the other side. It gets the sun a little bit later. I think planning where your beds are and where your rows are based on the sun is really important. So right now I have these sunflowers planted here. I did that so that I could plant, this is south, so I planted those. That means it's going to shade the bed behind it. It's the middle of the summer. If I want to plant like lettuce or something that I don't want to get as hot, that's the methodology there. For market gardening, you're doing quick rotations though, so there are a lot of the summer vegetables will be in one spot for longer, but you also are moving through things like arugula, radishes, lettuce, some of the quicker things that you'll harvest. And we're at a lull right now because we're transitioning to a different space. So if I was planning a market garden for the fall, I would already be planting like root vegetables now. So we've cleared some beds where there were lettuces and greens, and so these would be where I'd probably be putting in our root vegetables. We have had success with rotating crops, so not growing the same thing in the same spot, because we're not using any pesticides, just not allowing any of the insects to get too established in one spot helps overall. We grow a lot of squash. This is a delicata squash. And you can see the fruit in there. Those green stripy ones, can you see?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of an in-between summer and winter squash. So our zucchini are done, but these ones we're able to harvest right now in late summer before we could start harvesting our winter squash. But this is a second planting. So I did 2 plantings of this. I've already harvested the one.
Oh, okay.
So again, if you're trying to do farmers markets, you can't just plant one thing once.
Right.
So getting the timing right of those is the hardest thing, and it's a lot of trial and
Now,
error.
what about squash bugs with that? Because I know there's one lady that's in our group that really has a problem with squash bugs.
We call the cucumber beetles. They were pretty bad this year. But that's the nice thing, again, about doing 2 plantings. The first plants got hit pretty hard. I did get fruit off of them, but these, because they were later in the season, those beetles had kind of moved on.
Right.
So these plants are a lot healthier now. We do have a lot of issues with vine borers.
Yes.
So most zucchini, squash, winter squash are susceptible to that. There are varieties that aren't, though. We grow Tetsugabuto squash. That's the one that's taking over there. It's resistant to the vine borer. So also just getting to know which plants work for the kind of pests that you usually have. There's also physical interventions. If you tent the squash, when they're younger, it prevents the moth from laying the egg. And it's actually the larva of this moth that is the borer. So with these low tunnels, they serve a huge variety of functions. In the winter, we cover them with plastic so we can grow lettuces and get a head start on some of the root vegetables. But in the summer, we can either do shade cloth or something called agribond, which is like a really fine mesh. And that's what we do to try to keep those moths off.
Now, where did you get the metal framing for that?
I probably we inherited that one.
Okay.
This one's more permanent. It has the conduit that goes straight down
Yeah.
into the ground.
Yeah.
But we also, we have a pipe bender that's over there. I can show you.
Yeah.
So we can just buy like electrical conduit, and we have tons of arches, and those ones we just move and put them wherever we want. You can do rebar into the ground and then slide the conduit over that as well if you need it to be more sturdy.
Okay.
This one has the top brace though, which is
yeah,
nice.
I love that. Yeah.
More sturdy. Bootstrap Farmer probably is where we got that. So there's a fitting on the top, which is allowing you to get that top bar on there.
Yes. Oh yes, I see it. Okay.
So that's probably, where that came from.
Yeah. We got a lot of stuff from them this year that I really haven't even had a chance to look at.
You probably have a lot of goodies. We use the fence to, we have our cucumbers here. The fence is just become like a trellis. And this is the second planting of cucumbers. We've got a third planting coming up over here.
Oh.
So here you can really get 3 rounds of cucumbers in with the length of the season.
Oh wow, that is cool. Yeah.
This is another nice feature.
Oh yeah, I love this.
Hog panels from Tractor Supply. And we grow these yard-long beans on them. It's not a great crop for eastern North Carolina. They love the heat, and they'll grow and grow. They will keep setting fruit off of the same end, so as long as you're careful when you're harvesting them, it'll keep flowering off of this tip and just keep fruiting.
Cool.
This
is so awesome. I love this. I really do. I'm sorry. Okay.
I usually do 2 different kinds of eggplants. So I have a Japanese eggplant and an Italian style eggplant. Both have been selling great at the farmer's market. I used to just tomato cages for those, like the kind of cheap ones from Lowe's. Or I use fencing like this and make cylinders.
Yeah, I noticed you got basil down in between there, the purple basil.
Yeah, basil there. I did basil interplanted with the tomatoes.
Okay.
They seem to grow really well together.
Yeah.
And the basil bushes out so nicely, it keeps I wish I had done it in the whole tomato garden.
Well, it smells wonderful.
It does. It also works a little bit like a mulch. You can see there's no weeds where the basil is, and where there is no basil, it's all full of weeds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. Awesome. Oh, the ducks are out.
Yeah, they're snacking. They like the...
Well, this must be the test to see how long it's gonna get.
This is a different kind of bean.
This is huge.
This is called
it almost looks like a snake.
It's called a snake bean.
Oh, wow.
It's from Baker's Creek. Joe ordered it. I'm not sure why. For eating them, you harvest them much smaller, but when we ordered them, I think we got like 5 seeds. So we're just going to keep this one for seeds this year. It's the only fruit we've gotten so far.
And it looks like it's loaded.
Yeah. The seeds are quite large.
Wow.
I'm not sure. Let me just show you the Tetsukabuto.
Sure.
Getting some rain.
Okay.
As the ducks go by. Hi guys.
They're not really interested in us.
This is the Tetsukabuto that we planted on this mound. It's called a hugelkultur. It's a permaculture practice. But that's a little one right there.
Yeah, I saw a big one over here.
Yeah, it'll make a green. A green pumpkin. This is actually a cross between a butternut squash and a kabocha. And it's vine borer resistant, and clearly it is like prolific.
It's very happy.
So it's a first generation hybrid. You can't save the seeds, you have to buy them, but it's been great for us. We used it, and we used it for our cooking business last year. It's absolutely delicious. The texture is perfect.
Oh, wow.
For roasting or sauteing.
And which group did you, which company did you get this from?
They
Do you
have
remember?
it at Johnny's and Baker's Creek.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh, we're going to have to make a run for it.